Fish on First has partnered with About the Fans to launch a merchandise collection. Rep the FOF logo and more Marlins-inspired apparel. Find it all at aboutthefans.com. Enter coupon code FOF10 at checkout to get 10% off your order. FOF10 for a 10% discount.
This is Griffin Conan, and you're watching Fish on First Live.
A rowdy edition of Fish on First Live, presented by About the Fans, our new merch partner for all FOF tailored products that we are selling over there, aboutthefans.com. The promo code is scrolling across the bottom throughout the show. And of course, our whole crew is here as we preview every single Marlins series here on the Fish on First YouTube channel, on Twitter, on Facebook. Thanks to everybody for watching over there. Feel free to chime in with your live comments throughout the show. Myself, Eli Sussman, our usual host, Daniel Rodriguez. He's still hanging around for the first half of the show. We have Kevin Barral, Isaac Azut, Alex Carver, Sean McCormick reporting from the garage, Nate Karsmer, and our special guest is Robert Hansen, somebody that I've corresponded with from the Fish on First account a lot the past couple of years in particular, and he's just on top of everything with really clever questions and good points about this team. So, Robert, welcome to the show for the first time, probably not the last time. Great to have you on. Gotta make sure that his audio is all set up correctly so we can hear him. I think should be good. Try speaking again one more time, Robert, just so we know we have you on here.
Having me good here.
No.
In and out. I think we'll get it figured out as it goes along. As usual, we're gonna turn back to the previous series first, and it was an awkward ending to the previous series because it ended a little bit quicker than we would have anticipated with the rain out on Sunday. Ends up being a split with the Braves in Atlanta these last two games, one where they get their doors blown off on Friday night and then responding with a shutout of the Braves on Saturday. Series MVP, Kevin nailed it. Spencer Schwellenbach, that was in the first game of the series, but we didn't get it. Well, ultimately a pretty anticlimactic ending because of the rain out on the day that Sandy would have been starting, on a day where they really could have dug their feet into a Braves team that was already down. What I wanted to start with is Nate on the Saturday game, and in particular with Matt Mervis, just to be fair to him, because he's taken a lot of flack from our stream over the past few weeks towards the end of spring training and then off to the slow start this year. And this was really the Matt Mervis game that we got on Saturday. Well, him, several other guys stepped up as well, but he was the one that drove in 3 of the 4 runs. He had his first 2 home runs of the season right here. I guess this is exactly what the Marlins envisioned when they acquired Mervis in the first place, wasn't it, Nate?
Yeah, you said it perfectly. I mean, the Friday and Saturday game could not have been more, opposite of each other. Matt instantly swung the momentum in the first, which is what the Marlins really needed after just that, whacking from the Braves the night before. Got a good pitch to hit, drove it just out, and then his second one was absolutely crushed, and it went 420, 421. So seeing the ball a lot better after, rough, maybe too much pressure on him in Miami, but really a lot of what we saw at spring training, hitting the ball pretty hard, elevating. The Marlins needed a lefty power bat in this lineup that's going to drive and run. So really did see from him. I hope he continues it up in Queens. And then also on the diamond, Liam Hicks had his best day as a big leader yet. RBI, double, and threw out Mike Harris at second. So all-around good day for him. And it really all started with Cal on the mound, man. Cal had a really tough first start against this Mets team, but he really dug his feet and had, as Carver pointed out a couple of times, he had excellent command, plenty of called strikes and walking you guys, which is, again, contrary to his start against the Mets last Monday. So everyone played really well. It was a perfect all-around game. I think, in my opinion, I said it's the most complete win of the season thus far. And I think they really would have had the perfect opportunity to go in and take the series with Sandy on the mound and have all the momentum from the night before. So hopefully they can at least take it into the series against New York.
Well, I think Isaac is the one among us that sees the highest potential for Cal Quantrill if everything clicks throughout the season. For as kind of mediocre as that first start was with him as a Marlin, as his second start restored some of your faith in him for him to go 5 really clean innings and show the kind of command that he did in this game?
Yeah, it's hard to gauge completely because I thought that first start he really was left in a little bit longer than he should have been, and that goes back to the whole way that they built up their starters in spring training. This one coming off a day where the Braves scored 10 runs against Max Meyer and company. I didn't know what to make of it because then the Braves offense at the end of the day for the first 8 games have not been able to hit whatsoever. I did really like the way he was attacking the strike zone in that ball game. And yes, to answer your question, I do think that this restored some comfort with me and hoping that he can be a solid 2 to 3 win contributor for this Marlins team this season in a year that they're going to need as many innings as humanly possible. So it was nice to see against not a full force Atlanta lineup. It was great to see him shut down that ball club on the road with not that much run support from the Marlins offense until later in the ball game. It was nice to see him really easily shut them down.
Yeah, well, the floor is yours, Robert. Anything else from the series in particular that stuck out to you, given that everything, the interesting storylines coming into this and the way it ended a little bit abruptly beyond Quantrill or Mervis? Anybody else that captured your attention one way or the other?
I would say the base running, especially Xavier Edwards in particular, had two blunders. The one in the first inning when he got thrown out of third base. Ball that it was tagging up was fine. He didn't get back to the bag soon enough. Had he been standing on the bag when the ball got out there, if the ball was dropped or whatever, he was going to score. And then of course the second one, and I forget what inning it was, maybe the seventh inning, when he got picked off first base, and he and he's not only did he get, they were the guy that was on the mound, I think it was Suarez. He's been with the Angels the first 5 years of his career. So I've kind of been thinking about this. He is probably a pitcher that Xavier Edwards or nobody else on the Marlins has even seen because they're so young. And this guy was pitching in another league on the other coast, and he just kind of, I think in that situation you got to, even though you have a lead, you've got to be a little conservative with as far as the lead you're getting when you have no idea what kind of move this guy has, and it kind of, to me, I started to think, we know that they have, the pitchers, go over the hitters before a series, and the hitters go over the pitching staffs of the other team before the series. But is there any kind of do they have like a base running meeting before a series? I don't know if they get that detailed. Are they looking at, not only arms in the outfield, but are they looking at moves of, some of the guys in the bullpen? And if you're not, I would say if you're not familiar, even though you have the lead, you got to be a little, you can't get caught off. So anyway, that kind of stuck out. Xavier Edwards base running, and not only did he get picked off, he's injured. I don't know if I haven't seen I didn't get a chance to see the lineup if he's in a lineup tonight, but he definitely wouldn't have been playing yesterday.
He's in the lineup. He's in the lineup.
Yeah,
he good. Okay, so whatever happened going on was minor, but again, he's still a young player too. I mean, he's in his second year and he's off to a little bit of a slow start, but I think it's too soon to rush to judgment on anybody, and we learned that Saturday night, with Quantrill and Mervis. Don't rush to judgment on anybody, and so I think that would maybe be the big message. It's still early. Only played 9 games, and so yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned the Edwards name because there were a couple moments in that Pirates series where Edwards made a couple of mistakes. There was one that in game 2, and then the other one that comes to mind is a Jonah Bride. What should have been the game-winning hit by Jonah Bride on the drop fly ball by O'Neill Cruz, and Xavier Edwards was on second base. He was not able to score on a ball that landed in the warning track. So I do think that there is one part of Xavier's game, aside from maybe shortstop defense, he needs to work on a little bit with Smarslock, is just base running overall, because there have been not only in just that Pirate series, not only the 2 examples that Robert mentioned from yesterday or from Saturday, I'm sorry, there have been a few instances where I do notice that Xavier he's sort of in between on whether or not to tag, and the certain moments there is definitely some learning to do there for the young shortstop.
I think a standout that hasn't been mentioned, and it happened in that 10-0 game, which unfortunately got away from the Marlins bullpen. But I think the standout, maybe not a standout, but an encouraging performance, I would say, is Max Meyer. I still like Max Meyer. Max Meyer's good. And I think he proved it in this game. He didn't have either one of his new pitches. He didn't have the sweeper. He did not have the sinker. He had to rely mostly on the slider, which he placed very nicely. Got a quality start. So it's nice to know that even if this pitcher doesn't have his best stuff, he can still go out and give you a quality start with 8 strikeouts. So it's something that's going to get lost in the sauce because it's a quality start in a 10-0 game because the bullpen came in behind him and kind of blew everything up. But still a good performance for Max Meyer, who continues to have a good start to the season, despite everything going on around him, despite injuries, despite, injuries to his confidence, previously before this year. This guy is still good and is proving that he can still be a starting pitcher. While there was a lot of doubt around him still being a starting pitcher, he's proving that he could still do it, even if he's not at his best. So a good start for Max Meyer. I like this a lot.
Yeah, I wanted to check in from the garage to see for Sean on Max, because he got off to a good start last year. Of course, his first few outings of last season, he was the most effective guy in the Marlins rotation. They still optioned him down to AAA. He came back up on the other side and just wasn't effective. But you dug in, going back to spring training, into some of the tangible changes he's made to his pitch usage and pitch mix and pitch characteristics compared to last year. Do you think this is a more legit guy than last year? Do you think this could be, unlike last year, that this is something he could sustain deeper into the year?
Most likely, I do believe so. But you look at, like, for example, the new pitch they added, the sweeper. I mean, it's being hit on a 1 dot slug right now. It's being killed. The fastball, the four seam's still getting murdered. But as Carver pointed out, that slider that he's known for, that 70 grade, 80 grade slider. I mean, that's just been carving up opponents. So that's good enough to get him in a rotation. His changeup has been great, although he's only throwing it to lefties, which is pretty interesting. So right now he's definitely just leaning into that, that more gyro slider, but it's worked out for him. I mean, it's getting a 47% whiff. That's insane for a singular pitch. But, you'd like to see him definitely start to get the fastball more incorporated and hopefully, get the sweeper gets better results since that's his new pitch. But the changeup and slider have been great for him so far. So I think, looking forward, I think there's reason to believe that this good stretch will last longer than it did to begin the season last year.
Yeah, I think I have this handy dandy chart that I looked at for the first time today. The differences in his pitch usage compared to last year, right there, where it's a slightly less dependence on the slider. It's a lot less four seamers. And what he's done is he's made that sweeper, that second slightly slower breaking ball, a bigger part of the mix. And he's throwing the sinker more consistently as well. When he throws the four seam, the velo is up from where it was last year, but it's not diversifying his pitch mix. Like, this is something we see this every spring, right? Where guys come into camp with all these new pitches and they're so excited about it. And then the question is, are they actually going to be effective with those pitches? And are they going to have the conviction to use them once the real games begin? And so far, so good with that. Look at that. That's 5 different pitches that he's using at least 10% of the time right now for a guy that a lot of people labeled as a future reliever. And I think still right now, he has to disprove that moving forward, just given the time missed due to injury and just the track record that suggests that he kind of had a limited repertoire. But the work that he put in this offseason, early returns are pretty encouraging right now. So I wanted to bring him up, especially because he's going to be pitching again in this series, lined up for the series finale against the Mets as well, after already pitching against the Braves in this outing. So good test for him back to back going in there. I think we should touch on some minor league stuff, because this was the first weekends where all the minor league affiliates were in action. I think this is a record where we've made it like 14 minutes into the stream and haven't heard from Kevin. So I think I could just give you the floor. Especially, I know with the review that we're going to be putting out tomorrow morning about this past weekend, you focus on the upper level affiliates, AA and AAA, and the Marlins doubled up on award winners at Pensacola this week with Kemp Alderman. He's the hitter of the week in the Southern League. Evan Fitterer, a lot of people have forgotten about Evan Fitterer, but he was the pitcher of the week in that league. Just take us through the upper levels in the weekend that they had, because across the system, it was pretty successful, all things considered.
Yeah, I mean, who would have thought Evan Fitter would have, won Double-A pitcher of the week or whatever it was, Southern League. And it goes 5 innings, only allowing 1 hit, strikes out 6, 1 walk. So we'll take it. Again, maybe a little older for the level. Then there's Alderman who had the grand slam in that game. I think it was game number 2 of the season. Only struck out 3 times, throughout the course of those 3 games. So really nice to see that. He did talk about that at Wahoo's Media Day, how just trying to find the approach, trying to improve it, trying to obviously lower the Ks, not swing it outside stuff that he doesn't need to be swinging at. So far, so good. Then on, Robbie Snelling, got to talk about what he did. Looked great on opening day for the Wahoos, going 5, struck out 5 as well, and didn't walk anyone. So good stuff from Mr. Snelling. And then AAA. It's been interesting. Maximo Acosta, has been really good, like really, really good, to a point where if he keeps doing what he's doing, it's hard to not call him up. So aside from that, the pitching's been really on and off. Nothing great so far. Jansen Junk's been pretty good. Not a prospect, but he is in AAA. And I think the biggest struggle so far on that level has really been Davis and De Los Santos, who in how many at-bats was it? I noted this today. Was struck out 16 times in 8 games so far. Not great at all. Hasn't hit a home run. Only driven in 1 run so far. He's not looking good at all. Not looking ready to, for the majors. And, this is a guy who lowered the K rate last season, and it's over 50% right now. So we're at 50%. So, yeah, upper levels of the minors, not the biggest storylines. I would say it's more in Jupiter, what we've been seeing down there. And I'll let Carver talk about that, because I know he's the one who's going to touch that level up a little bit. But Dax made his return. Didn't look really good. Was limited to, I think, just 3 innings. So he struggled a little bit there. But outside of that, you'll take some of the offense you're getting from certain guys. The pitching, I think, will work its way into some improvements. Did not know Heriberto Hernandez was striking out 60% of the time.
I had noticed that earlier today, that he actually leads minor league baseball in total strikeouts to this point. It's a small sample, but this was a positive story from spring training, that to this point in the regular season, showing some approach issues that are going to have to be solved. Yeah, what should we know, Carver, about the first few days of Beloit and Jupiter? What stood out to you?
Dylan Head's a stud. I've said that a couple of times already. That guy's – Isaac said it too, actually, before I did. That guy's good. I mean, to see what that guy is doing after a missed year last year, pretty much – after he came over at the deadline, that guy is going off. His new size and strength is present. His exit velocities are there. His speed is just incredible. That guy is a good player, and I think it's 4 out of 5 tools, if not maybe the ability for all 5, if he brings the power up a little bit. But this guy is solid, and man, it's crazy to see, this guy do it after what he went through last year with injuries. So I'm super excited for Dylan Head. I think that he has been probably the best player so far on the young season. Not even just that one day, but just how he's went about that whole series. And yeah, it's 3 games, so it's easy to say it, but spring training looked great as well. Was the talk of spring training amongst coaches and a bunch of other guys as well that called him out personally as a guy that's impressed. Really good. And if this guy can stay healthy, I really think he's going to get pushed quickly. I think he's going to go up to at least single A advance this season. Maybe can get his foot in the door at Double-A to end the year. That would be amazing. But a really, really, really solid start for what I think is a 4 out of 5 tool, if not 5 tool player, because I think this guy is really good. For the first time in a long time, I think at the lower levels, it's more about offense than pitching. That's no slight on Thomas White, who was fantastic, but I think there's a little bit more to talk about as I'm going through this recap of these first 3 games, and I'm talking more about offense than defense, and I think that's the first time in a long time that I've done that with the Marlins system. So lots to like. The stolen bases are insane. The fact that each of these levels, Eli, you tweeted it today, each of these levels has so many stolen bases. Jupiter, I think, has 17. I think Jacksonville already has like 20 plus steals. So this is crazy to see how they're starting to, not just rely on one tool, but they're relying on all of their tools that they have offensively. It's a credit to this new attitude around the system. It's a credit to this analytical attitude. It's a credit to just making the most out of these players, getting them good exposure, getting them really good experience as they go through their minor league career. So this is great. I was super, super, super encouraged by things at all of the levels that we watched. Jupiter really is the one that stands out to me, but Beloit as well with the pitching. And it's really awesome. This is obviously, and it's 3 games, so it's easy to say, so we have to see how it plays out. But the fact that we're talking more about offense than pitching for the first time in a long time, I think is a credit to what the Marlins are trying to do. And I think that this new coaching staff and a lot of these new coaches that they've brought in or promoted to new levels are showing out early. It's not just the players. I think coaching plays a big part here too. So yeah, organizational wide, this is an exciting start to this minor league season. It's 3 games. So again, we got to see temper expectations, but good start.
I don't think you mentioned Thomas White. I don't think you even mentioned him, right?
I was going to mention it, bring him up.
I did briefly. Yeah. He was great. I mean, but
he was great.
And
why is he still?
I wanted to see him in AA. I really wanted to see him in AA. And again, we went over that last time we talked that it was a last second decision to start him back in Beloit, which it's fine. Like I have no problem with taking it easy, but
come on,
you kind of not expected him to just go out and tear it up, but you kind of expect him to go out and tear it up. So I was more not surprised, but more encouraged with what we saw from some of those guys that missed time, Dylan Head being a main one, and the offense being the story over pitching. So I wanted to really call that out. But yeah, Thomas is amazing. That guy should be in AA.
Well, I would say that the offense is a story in Jupiter. Definitely not in Beloit. Beloit is definitely, I would say, more pitching heavy. You have, we spoke about him a little bit, Carver, in our pod, on your pod. Jake Brooks with the 6, how he's did last year, gets to the new level, looks pretty good. Nothing crazy, but he had a really nice start. 4 innings, 1 run, 6 strikeouts, no walks. You'll take that. And then the day before is Brian Mendoza, who was acquired in that was one of the 3 players acquired in the Berger trade. He only went 3 innings, but struck out 4, didn't allow a run, gave up 1 hit. So it's been pretty nice to see, that pitching at least improve. And yeah, I do like the thing, what you mentioned with the stolen bases. They've been extremely aggressive at every single level to steal some bases. The only thing is just like the Marlins themselves haven't been, great at that this year. And we spoke about that at the top of the show. And the Marlins have been better at allowing other teams to steal bases, and the Marlins themselves have been good at stealing bases. So that's the one other thing worth, I guess, noting.
That is, yeah. These are the overall stats for people to see. Organization-wide, 2.33 ERA in the minor leagues to this point, and they're the stolen bases, 59 steals in 18 combined games. It's not.
Dude, take that off.
Delvey Rosario still in the organization after all these years. I did want to hear from actually, yeah, let me get Daniel. I want to squeeze Daniel in here because I know he has a prior obligation midway through the show about on the stolen base idea. The fact that they're far and away the most aggressive organization at this point at stealing bases in the minor leagues. You think that should, given the way that their current major league roster is constructed with guys that have limited track records at actually hitting the ball and ones that to this point, there's only so much that you can rely on from any particular guy in this lineup that you'd think that at the big league level, wouldn't it make a lot of sense if they were also equally hyper aggressive in order to just try to raise the ceiling of this offense?
Yeah, but I think also it really comes depending on the guys you do have on the roster. I mean, maybe the only guys who are really able to go ahead and steal that many bases, Edwards, Otto Lopez. I don't think we're going to see Matt Mervis or guys like that going ahead and steal 20 bases, 15 bases even. But I really like how aggressive they are and stealing the bags down in the minors. I think they're really improved that they're showcasing that they want to score more runs. They want to get more opportunities with that. And they want to, if it means you have to sacrifice an out or so to be able to steal those bags, able to steal second or go ahead, steal third. I think in the long term, I think it does more good than harm for the organization. And I think maybe in a couple of years or so, when we have these guys down there and the minors finally come up to the majors, maybe they'll see them implementing that more while they're up in the bigs to go ahead and steal more bags, be more ultra aggressive. I think this really goes to the development of the players, really what Bendix brought in whatever, with all the new coaching staff, scouts, whatever, everything that's really changed so far when Peter Bendis came in, really showing how aggressive he wants the team to be, and it's showing to fruition. You saw that graphic before, Eli. Jacksonville with 23 stolen bases, number one. Yeah, right there. Jupiter second, tied for second. That's insane. We have 3 affiliates in the top 10 of stolen bases, and there are just a handful of games, less than 4, only like 3 games being played, and they're already up there with that many stolen bases. They want these guys to be super aggressive. They want to be able to go ahead and bring in those runs. And I think it's a positive for the organization. Maybe again, if difficult at times if you want to do it too much, but I think it's going to end up doing more harm. More good than harm for the Marlins.
Yeah,
I think the last thing to call out on my end is just in response to, and yeah, the stolen bases are crazy, but just in response to what Kevin said about Beloit, you would expect Beloit, yes, to be more pitching heavy with what is on their roster. And I agree overall that it is, but that team scored 5+ runs in every game that they played, all three of these first games that they played, and they swept the series. It's more scrappy for sure. It's guys that are not the highest tier prospects like in Jupiter or Pensacola or Jacksonville, but Ryan Ignacio hitting a home run, Colby Shade, absolute legend in this series, like stud. Okay, there's another, you can add that to your counter, Daniel. Stud in this series, Colby Shade, just a guy that is unheralded, that probably nobody thinks of, but what a great series for that player. Like that he was the MVP of that series for Beloit, and that's a joy to see. I mean, awesome stuff from him. That's a guy that missed his entire draft year because he was injured. And here he is with 3 stolen bases and 5 hits and 9 at bats, like four or 5 hits, 9 at bats, like just went off in the first series of a season. So awesome. So yeah, it's more of a scrappy team. It's not really a team that you would think would be offensive minded, but to score 5+ runs in all 3 games, hopefully something they can build off of. Yes, we expect that team to be more pitching centric to start the year. I think that team gets even better when some of these Jupiter prospects get called up throughout the season. I think the Marlins went really easy with their challenges out of camp, but I think that team will get a lot better as the season goes along and already starting off good. So a fun team, a scrappy team, especially offensively, but they have really good pitching, as Kevin noted. So there's something to watch at every level. Watch minor league baseball. It's a joy, and it's only getting better for this organization. It's great.
Shout out Yidi Cappe with the walk-off.
Hey, shout out Sam Prater.
Yeah, I am curious, Robert, how much Marlins minor league ball do you watch? Because it is hard to be totally absorbed with what's happening at the big league level with this team, especially over the last couple of years. So if there's any takeaways that you've had from following these prospects that weren't already mentioned, I'd love to hear it.
I got to say that I watch virtually no minor league baseball. I'm pretty much, dialed into the big league team. The information I get from the, as far as what's going on in the minor leagues, a lot of it I get from you guys. The one guy I have been following the last 2, his last couple outings is Edward Cabrera, and I got to say, I'm an older fan, so I'm not up on, as far as WAR and FWAR, sometimes I can get lost on the advanced metrics, but the good thing about Edward Cabrera is I don't have to worry about the only stat I got to worry about when he's pitching is the base on balls. Yeah. And that's the only stat I need to look at when he's throwing. And so far he's, I think he's had 2, I don't even know if we want to call them rehab starts or, spring training 2.0 starts, but he's pitched 7 innings, hasn't walked anybody, knock on wood, and, so, but aside from him or aside from that, I don't, it's really not, I'm not even sure where I would go to watch that. I am interested in the prospects and, especially all the ones that they've picked up, this in the last, the last 9 months, 9 to 12 months. And, so.
Well, what is your confidence level in Eddie at this point? Because he could potentially be back as soon as this weekend. It's a decision in terms of whether they want to get him stretched out a little bit more or whether they want to just plug him into that vacant rotation spot coming up this weekend on the next homestands. He's been around for so many years, and there were signs of encouragement during the second half of last year. We've seen this new pitching development group make some interesting strides with other pitchers going back to spring training. Are you still optimistic that something's going to click with him, or do you still have concerns about those control issues popping up and getting in his way?
No, I definitely have concerns. I mean, I was looking back through his transaction history. I didn't realize this. He's been a property of the Marlins. It's going to be a decade this year, and it's hard to say that about any player. Being property of the Marlins for like 10. That might be a record. He's been property of the Marlins longer than maybe any other player in their history. I have to look that one up. But yeah, we're a decade in, and yeah, so I'm not real. I guess I always have a glimmer of hope, but you never want to get your expectations too high with him, unfortunately, and that's kind of where we're at with him. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And if you fool me, multiple times in the case of Cabrera, then it's really shame on me. So, I'm going to remain hopeful. And what else can I think I'm an optimist by nature, and and I think you kind of have to be an optimist to be a Marlin fan, else you're gonna you're going to totally lose your mind if you're not. But anyway, so I'm always going to try and be optimistic with him and with them. And yeah, so we'll see what happens. I guess he went 3 innings his first outing. He went 4 innings his second outing. So he's projected to go. And I know really it's not about innings. It's more about pitch count. But hopefully he can make it 5 innings. And then we'll see from there. Maybe, he could be up sometime during this next home stretch.
Yeah, somebody that, as far as I can tell, would have had value this past offseason if they decided to move him. But of course, Luzardo had even more at the time. They get a more substantial return. And they thought that Ryan Weathers would be a big piece of their rotation entering the year. And he had his injury setback. And now Cabrera, with a more minor one, has put them in this predicament because it's always something with Eddie. Whether it's...
Yeah, I was looking at Weathers' injury history. This little arm injury he had, this is the first arm injury he's had in his career, according to what I could find going through his transaction history. And, he had the...
Oh, no. I think he crashed out. Just we're getting to a great summary of injury history right there from our buddy Robert. We'll try to get him back. He's still in the studio with us, but he is blacked out. Literally.
His phone maybe died.
Yeah, that is a possibility. The phone died. But I liked what he was saying about Mr. Edward Cabrera, one of the longer tenured guys in the organization. And they better figure something out with him soon, or else it's just going to be I hate to say this about but a worthless asset, unfortunately.
I think the tenure just works against him because how many chances has this guy had? Like, he's had every single chance in the world to stay healthy, to be consistent with his command. And at every step of the way, some of it not his fault because injuries are terrible. And this guy has had a bad luck in that regard. But I think that this guy has had every chance to succeed. The Marlins have tried to groom him every step of the way. And it's just not there. It's just not really happening. And I don't think that it ever will. So maybe he can prove me wrong and last ditch effort, backs against it. He knows that he's probably coming to the end of his time here if he doesn't succeed. Maybe that motivates him to be at his best. I hope so. But I think the fact that he is one of the higher tenured guys in the organization, I think that is just, it's great that he's been here for a long time. And it's great that the Marlins have tried to make this work for him and stayed committed to him. But that is really something that is also against him because he's had so many chances.
Yeah. And just to clarify for everybody, with Edward, the issue was a blister that was discovered during his last spring training start. With Weathers, it is a flexor tendon strain. And I think the injuries from the ballpark has just been updated on, I'm just scrolling things on MLB.com to make sure I'm up to speed on what is going on with Weathers. Yeah, I think with Weathers, it's still about a month away, best case scenario, from rejoining the rotation. And with Edward, it's just a question of whether it's this weekend, whether there's one more rehab between now and then. I want to get into some lineups for this series opener. We'll remove Eddie and put that in there to take a look. The first of 3. This is a very familiar opponent for the Marlins. Of course, they just faced this Mets team in Miami last week, and it is for the first time, thank goodness, we had the color coding from Baseball Savant to make it really easy for everybody to see what's going well and what's going not so well on both sides. For people that were with our stream last year, you're used to seeing ice cold stuff on the Marlins side and them being really outmanned from the underlying statistical standpoint against their opponents. And in this case, it's pretty even. I mean, across the board, these teams have performed very similarly to each other in the early going this year, even though the Mets obviously have much higher expectations to this point. We mentioned earlier in the show that Xavier Edwards is in the lineup despite having that knee soreness scare during that final game on Sunday. Nick Fortes is back in the lineup as well. I wanted to talk about Fortes first. Any of you guys about what Nick Fortes has done so far this year? It's been a really tiny sample, but hitting the ball a lot harder than he did even when he was going well last year. Isaac is nodding along. Isaac, talk to me about Nick Fortes and what we've seen from him so far this year when I think expectations were pretty low coming out of spring training.
In Toronto, in the last series of the year, we spoke with Peter Bendix, and he said that he was extremely happy with the way that second half of that season had gone with Nick Fortes offensively. And if you look back, he really did perform well. Did I think that he was going to carry this over into spring training into the regular season? Probably not. We did think that there was a big hole at catcher and that maybe Liam Hicks would overtake Nick Fortes as one of those starting catchers. But boy, Nick Fortes has come out hot. I'm really impressed with the quality of at-bats that this guy has had. Basically splitting time with Liam Hicks down the middle and doing a great job behind the dish for the most part. A few missed fires here and there, but it seems like a whole different type of hitter than the last 2 years of Nick Fortes. It's almost like 2021 with that few first couple of months that we had of him and getting really impressed and excited about a hitting catcher maybe. But we'll see. Obviously, it's only been 9 games, but it has really been nice to see him just not only take quality at bats, also hit the ball hard, like you mentioned. I think that's going to be a game changer.
Yeah. Anything else, Kevin, that sticks out to you about this particular lineup going up against Kodai Senga, the series opener?
I'm surprised to see how much red there is for Matt Mervis, but here we are. And I mean, it looks like he's gotten a little bit unlucky. Like, you look at some numbers, the expected slugging, it's not terrible. It's in the red. It's what it's supposed to be. The batting average, so it's not obviously it's not a great batting average, but good enough for someone like a Mervis who is more of a slugger, or that's what they want out of him. I'm surprised by the speed. Like it's a lot on the red side. Like I know it's some guys who haven't played a lot, like a Wagaman or even a Myers, but it's pretty impressive to see that this is on the faster side of things. Good to see Edwards in there, of course. He's been struggling a little bit, to start the season. And he's been, one of those guys who, doesn't strike out a lot and has been someone who's really been a little more aggressive this season, which is something that isn't, normal of him. He's already struck out 10 times through, in 9 games so far, which is not normal from someone like Edwards. And as we noted the base stealing stuff and the base running, which hasn't been great. So looks like your normal lineup, but it's cool to see, the some of the expect numbers with Lopez. Like he's supposed to be hitting 349. So it just shows how good Otto has been this season and just how good he is so far.
And about Edwards really quick, I spoke with him on sometime the last homestand where he was struggling a bit, and he basically said that he is not happy with the way his at-bats has been going. He did mention a little bit of unluckiness, and obviously the data shows that a little bit, but he also says he's been tinkering on some stuff from the right-handed batter's box. You guys can see he struggles a lot more facing left-handed pitching than he does from the left side batter's box. So he seems to be in the middle of something there, but maybe the few days off helped him regroup a little bit offensively. But he was well aware of he was very unhappy with the start of his season when I spoke with him when the team was in Miami.
The other thing to point out about Fortes really quickly, and I agree with Isaac, I don't think I saw this coming either, for a guy that figured it out late in his minor league career, was decent to start his major league career, and then just lost basically everything. Offensively is, I guess, the really only other thing we can point out is that he's destroying fastballs, like expected slugging of 668 against fastballs, which is insane. Can that permeate? I would say I doubt it. But doing enough against breaking stuff right now to lengthen counts and force guys to come at him with fastballs. So I would say that that's kind of your base for why Fortes is doing this. I don't think it holds up for over the course of a full season, but right now it looks good. So, I mean, small sample being what it is, credit to him for at least starting to figure it out again. And we'll see if he can continue to prove us wrong.
I'll just backpack off Kevin real quick. What he said about the speed on this team. I knew Otto was fast, but faster than Xavier Edwards. At least as of now, I didn't know he had that in him. And you can really see how it helps him at second. He's such an incredible defender. I haven't had really the chance to talk about Otto. I haven't been on the stream since opening day, but he had a little bit of a slower series in Atlanta. I don't think he recorded a hit, but I'm not worried about him. He's had an incredible start to this year, and I think against another familiar opponent in New York, he can get back rolling again. So I'm excited to watch him in the 3-hole tonight.
Even Eric Wackerman's has a little bit of speed.
Yeah, right.
I didn't see that coming.
What did Clayton do to these guys, man?
Yeah, well, as Alex can attest to from doing his sprint speed number crunching in the case of Dylan Head, 27 is about league average, 30 is elite. So to this point, nobody in here really jumps off the page in terms of their sprint speed. Otto is significantly above average, but the league leaders in this department, the top handful of big leaguers are right around 30 feet per second. At times last year, Jazz was like flirting with 29, and Edwards was even higher than this last year at various points. Should have a question here about the batting order construction as we get the video and audio back from Robert. It looks like about Otto doing everything that X is supposed to do. Why not lead off Otto? And I think the answer to that is that Otto has like pretty legitimate raw power that has now shown up in a couple of games right now where you don't want to squander that at the very top of the lineup. If you have guys that profile as decent leadoff hitters or top of the order hitters, then Otto drives them in. And to this point, even Edwards, by his standards, being a little underwhelming to this point, he still does a lot of things that should consistently get him on base as the year goes on. And Stowers has been the one where it's hard to really downplay the improvements that Stowers has had compared to last year, where he's just being really disciplined, either working himself into more favorable counts and drawing walks, or simply hitting the ball a lot harder, as you see right there. 61.1% hard hit rate in this small sample. He's doing things that will get him on base consistently as well to give Otto more RBI opportunities to this point. So I like Otto Lopez in that number 3 spot. That top 3, at least against right-handed pitching, seems to make a lot of sense for the time being. The question, especially last year they really struggled against lefty pitching in particular. And so that will be something to follow as this year goes on, when Stowers might have more trouble in those lineups. Even Griffin Conine is somebody that throughout his professional career has been very susceptible to same-handed pitching. That is something that will have to play out as this year goes on to see how they perform against lefties as it goes out. But it is Senga here in this first game. And as I look ahead on the probable starting pitchers for the rest of the series, it's going to be all righties for the Mets. Clay Holmes in the second game, Tyler McGill in the third game. All righties on both sides for the series. But as we have Robert back, anything in particular thoughts that you have about this lineup construction and how things are going? It's been a team that even on their best day hasn't exceeded 5 runs at any point. They've lineup construction is going to be pretty important in terms of squeezing the most that they can out of this current team. So I guess maybe in the case of somebody like Nick Fortes, how much longer does he have to keep this up before he's somebody that could move higher up in this batting order, you think?
Yeah, I would just say, we had mentioned earlier about it, so we're only 9 games in, and it's kind of too soon to rush to any judgment on anybody. And I think the two poster children for not rushing to judgment would probably be Fortes and Kyle Stowers. I mean, looking at him last year and in spring training, you're thinking, God, this guy can't hit a fastball over his waist, And then, we had the game-winning hit in the series in Pittsburgh, and it was a fastball up and in that he got around on. And so I would, it's just, it's too soon to tell. But, I mean, Fortes, he seems like he's all over everything. I would say about as far as left-handed pitchers, I was taking a peek at the Nationals rotation, and it looks like the Marlins, when they come home, it looked like they will face 2 left-handers, Mitchell Parker and Mackenzie Gore, when Washington comes to town. I think, in fact, Mackenzie Gore, I believe, is pitching tonight. They're also off Thursday, which would put him in line to start the finale on Sunday. And Mitchell Parker, I think, pitched Saturday. And of course, his turn would be on 4 days. The rest would be Thursday. They're off that day. So I think there's a real chance he starts the game on Friday. So some of these, with the right-handers in there, we've seen Dane Myers is not getting quite as many at-bats the last couple of games. And Jonah Bride. But, he's off to a slow start. And that's, again, don't rush the judgment on him, So we'll, I will say this, that the base running, circling back around to Xavier and Edwards, this team can't afford to be making mistakes on the bases. They got away with it Saturday night, and but clean base running is going to be crucial for this team. With there being a lack of power. So that's it.
I want to slide it over quickly to the Mets side on this. Pete Alonso right in the middle, off to during an offseason where nobody wanted to pay him his worth, and he gets a short-term deal from the Mets. He is off to a sizzling start, and in particular flipped that went a long way in towards changing what should have been a Marlins win in that series finale into a game that went into extras that the Mets eventually pulled out. And other than that, it is it is pretty similar to the kind of crew they were rolling out last week with Lindor and Soto at the very top right there. Aside from, I guess, the start of this Juan Soto Mets era, I think expectations were pretty high, Sean, for what Soto would do with the Mets to this point. And in this really tiny sample, he's been fine overall. But I think he had one home run. I think he homered in his Mets debut, it may have been, and then he hasn't homered since then. So this is I guess the Marlins might be either facing him at the right time, or he's not somebody that's going to put the offense on his head, or maybe he's just overdue to crush them. Maybe they're getting him at the wrong time because he's gone through this extended stretch without driving in a ton of runs himself.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'll always kind of lean on the sign that Soto's probably going to break out at any moment. I mean, this guy's arguably the best hitter in all of baseball, so it's always scary to face him, I guess, especially with, a righty on the mound today, Belozo. So, Juan Soto's amazing. This $750 million contract, but he's a fun player to watch, and good for the Mets. Hopefully, he doesn't kill us, but I have a bad feeling, and he might be my MVP for this series. We'll see.
Yeah. He is, based on our super sub predictions that we've gotten so far, pretty popular MVP pick right here. And one more time, I just want to give people a peek at the probable starters for the course of this series. As I mentioned, it's right-handers for both sides for all three games to this point. And some of the same names that we saw during their previous meeting in Miami, where they did pretty well against Senga in that first one. And Gillespie did solidly he faced the Pirates in his debut. And then in his second outing I think he did pretty well in that game. That was the one where he had the lead and it was the bullpen that blew it for him. And then we have Max Meyer, as we talked about Max before, and how he got off to that hot start last year and trying to do the same this year, but perhaps one with a version of him that has more staying power this time. This is from Fangraphs saying that the Marlins are pretty steep underdogs in all three games of this series. But that's pretty harsh, isn't it? All three to have less than 35% win probability. That's pretty harsh. I don't know. I will be there for the middle game of this series for people that are anxious for my onside coverage. So I got Connor Gillespie versus Clay Holmes for that middle one. And I'll bring you all the reporting from that. Let's see. Yeah. Anything else though on anybody's mind that we want to get to before predictions and other stuff?
Do you mind if you go back really fast to the Marlins hitting chart for today, or the starters for today?
Sure.
I wanted to talk about Stowers really fast, because I thought Stowers has been really, really interesting case to start this year. I mean, you can see there that he has a -4 launch angle of a 61% hard hit rate, so everything's been in the dirt. And you can just imagine that if he gets that up, I mean, Stowers it's going to be great for him. I mean, what a turnaround! I think that walk-off opening day was such a shot of confidence for him. I was so happy that he got that, because I'm pretty sure he was 0 for 3 to start the day on opening day, and then that walk off, and he's just looked like a different person since then. And another one thing that's huge to me about Stowers is that his chase rate's down to 24%. I believe it was 32 or 34% last year. That's been such a big change, just not, chasing out of the zone, keeping everything in the zone. His whiff rate still is pretty high. He's been swinging and missing at fastballs. But other than that, I mean, he's destroying baseballs. It's just in the dirt right now. But I think Stowers has been awesome to see. I love to see the confidence out of him. I'm really happy for him right now.
And he can play all three outfield spots, which is helpful. So definitely need them to, get it going there on the offensive side to be able to, use them as much as they have.
I'll give you something on the other side, Eli, in a similar light as that is the Luis Angel Acuna. I love that player. I think that he's good. Not only does he have pedigree, but he has tools. I just think that a lot of his issue amidst this call up to the pros or the majors is that he's pounding the baseball into the ground with like a 56% ground ball rate. But man, the strikeout rate's manageable. He's quick. He's fast. That player plays. And if he can figure that out in terms of creating a little bit more launch, that's a good player. I think that he is good. And that's just a player that the Mets are going to add into this crop of really good players that are in the rest of this lineup. So Luis Angel Acuna, don't forget about him. I like him. I mean, all throughout his minor league career with Texas, he was so good, like a great minor league baseball player. Every year, WRC plus was 120, 130, 110, 115. He was amazing at every level of minor league baseball that he played at with the Rangers. And I think he will be good for the Mets if he's given a chance. A little bit of a late bloomer, I think. But, man, figure out launch angle a little bit. Not going to be a home run hitter, but I think he's definitely a doubles first guy and plays decent defense. So I like Acuna. Like I said, pedigree, tools, everything's there. Solid player, just off to a slow start. But I think he could break out at any time. Hopefully it's not this series.
Yeah, I'm not as confident in Acuna as you are. I did speak with last year JP Arancibia, who was obviously in the Mets organization. He said just like you that he is just very green, a little bit young in his career. Got called up prematurely a little bit, but he seems to be a big fan of that player as well. I personally, I don't see it quite as much. Just faster than Sanoja, a different type of player, but I don't know. We'll see.
Not as interesting as Acuna, but Carn Gillespie is starting that middle game tomorrow. He faced them a handful of times in spring training. I already faced them once this year, so him seeing them again, it's either recipe for disaster or it's an end out good for the Marlins. So something worth noting if you're taking series MVP. I'm just throwing it out there.
Well, that's the other thing I wanted to note too. The Marlins are going to see the same three guys they saw the first time from the Mets. So, kind of similar vein. It's either a recipe for success or the Mets are going to make their adjustments and they're going to shut out the Marlins pretty big time. And, those are three guys who had pretty good spring trainings. And, and the Marlins did get to Senga pretty well. I think that was game 2 of the series against Sandy. So it's just a matter of now, what adjustments. And this is a league of adjustments that as we have noted a lot on the stream in prior streams. And we'll see how the adjustments are made.
They didn't face McGill. They faced Peterson.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yep, my bad.
Yeah. Thank you for buying me some time because I had to log a ton of super sub series predictions that we're going to get to right now on the other side of this. Favorite segment of the show is we tell you guys what we think is going to happen these next 3 games. It is prediction time.
This is prediction time.
I don't want to toot my own horn here, but I'm really good at this.
I think it's time to replace that one.
Yeah, well, it doesn't apply when I'm the one hosting because I'm not very good at these series predictions. That's more of a Daniel thing to have that intro leading into his predictions from the previous time. As we showed on the show earlier, this is from the Brave series, which was relatively low. Hold on. There we go. Yeah, from the Brave series, a relatively low-scoring one, all things considered. Anticlimactic because we didn't get a real resolution to that series. So most people across the board picked up a point. We log our series predictions from our Fish on First staff, from our stream guests, and from our super subs as well. FishOnFirst.com/subscriptions if you want to sign up, make your predictions every single series, so twice every single week directly on our site, in our Discord channel as well. The link to that is in the description on YouTube if you want to join our private super subs Discord channel as well and put your picks there. Wherever we get them, I record them. I keep the scores updated to this point. And early on, it is Thomas Joseph. I think he's watching the stream. He has a slight lead on top of our leaderboard to this point, but it is still so early, less than 10% of the way into the season. So anybody that can hop right in, they have as good a chance as anybody to storm to the front of the standings before the season ends. Yeah, just a peek at, I haven't even logged all of them, but these are just a share of the predictions that I've received to this point for the Mets series. It is relatively, it leans more towards the Mets at this point. There's a lot of expectation that the Mets are going to win the series. Yeah, again, quite a bit of Brandon Nimmo in there, some Juan Soto, somebody on the site.
Bullpen, what is that?
Bullpen? That doesn't really count. 1993 fan from the start. You need to be a little bit more specific on there. As we've seen last year, it is possible to pick a reliever and be right about it, because we determined the MVP based on win probability added. It could be a hitter, it could be a pitcher, it could be on the winning team or the losing team. But for Robert and anybody else that is unfamiliar, just pick how many games the Marlins are going to win in the series, and then who is going to be your series MVP. Let me make sure that I have our background set up that we just used a week ago. We're going to go one person at a time once I get this background music set up. We're going to go straight to the garage with our first prediction. We're going to start with Sean McCormick on here. Your series would
go. The Mets take 2 out of 3 against the Marlins, and Juan Soto, it will be the series MVP.
Nice and concise. To Isaac Azut, series predictions.
Oh man, I don't think Miami's going to fare too well in this one. I think they lose 2 out of 3, and I think Kodai Senga is going to be dominant tonight and earn himself the series MVP.
Okay, Kevin is ready to drop some knowledge. Go ahead, Kevin.
I'm gonna go Marlins taking 2 out of 3, and I think Pete Alonso will be the MVP.
Okay, Alex Carter, let's hear from you.
I love Gillespie and I love Max Meyer. So I think that Kodai Senga will be really good tonight, and I really do think that this will not be a good start to the series for the Marlins. But I'm going to go Marlins 2 out of 3. Those 2 pitchers, I think, are going to surprise and continue to surprise. I think they'll do enough that the bullpen can hold on to it. And against all these righties, we'll go Griffin Conine as the MVP.
Okay. Mr. Hansen, I think you can tell how this works at this point. Share with us your series predictions.
You're muted.
You're muted.
There we go. Okay. Yeah. Got to go Mets 2 out of 3. You know, it's kind of my default move for now. And as far as series MVP, guess I go Juan Soto.
Safe bet for sure.
Yeah, it's a safe one. That's a very conservative bet there. Yeah.
Over to Nate, your series prediction.
Jeez. I'm kind of torn on this one. I'm with Carter. I think Connor Gillespie's going to do really well tomorrow, but the Mets are a hot team. They just swept the Blue Jays. So I'm going to go Mets take 2 out of 3. And for series MVP, Francisco Lindor, man, they're out to a slow start this year, but I think he's going to figure it out this series, unfortunately. So I got him taking on the reins this time.
Torpedo bat.
Finally, myself, I am going to be surprisingly optimistic in this case on the Marlins side. I think they're going to win this series 2-1 in New York on the road, tightly contested, with big help from a guy that we've referenced a couple times during the show, Max Meyer. I'm a big believer in the changes that he's made, and he has impressed in both of his starts he's made thus far. I think he's going to do it at least one more time before maybe coming back to earth a little bit. Still, I believe in the adjustments that he's made, and I think in that series finale, pitching the rubber game, he's going to make the difference in this one. As Max looks to take a pretty big step forward, and that would leave the Marlins at 7-5 heading back home. So I can't imagine what the excitement level would be if they actually pull it off. I think it is within the realm of possibility that the Marlins steal this series.
Yeah, it's kind of like Josiah mentioned earlier. He didn't even have those pitches his last outing. So if he has those tonight, yes, this is a high-powered lineup, and it's going to take a bit for the Marlins to win this series. But those back end pitchers, man, they're going to hold the torch in this series. And Frank Fleming is going to be screaming on Twitter, and Marlins fans are going to be rejoicing. It's going to be a great series. We're going to come back home and go from there. So yeah, this is going to be a fun one. I think. Hopefully, me and Eli are right about this one, and Nate are right about this one.
No, it was
Kevin,
Kevin,
man.
It wasn't me.
Or Kevin, sorry, Kevin. I'm not used to you having a decent take. No, I'm just kidding.
No, it's
Damn.
I'm not good at actually listening to you guys as you give your takes. I kind of find out when I download the stream afterwards who actually predicted what. It's all blurred to me. But yeah, I do remember Robert's prediction very well because of the Juan Soto in there. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and for Fish on First Live, we'll be back again on Friday for the National Series and taking it one series at a time. You guys know what we expect from this season for the Marlins, but that is why they play the games to this point, and so far it's been a pleasant surprise. So once again, a matchup against the Mets, first of three from Eli, Kevin, Nate, Isaac, Sean, Alex Carver. We had Daniel on for a little bit first half of the show, and our guest, Robert Hansen. Thank you, Robert, again for following along with what we do. And yeah, looking forward to talking again in the near future. Presented by About the Fans. Go to aboutthefans.com, and that's where you can get all of our merch. Promo code FOF10, FOF10 to get a discount at checkout. We'll wrap it up right here. Enjoy the series. Go Fish.
Have a wonderful evening.